Charles Oliveira is walking into something serious at UFC 317. Joe Rogan recently analyzed Ilia Topuria's training footage, and what he saw should terrify every lightweight contender. Rogan didn't hold back, calling Tapuria a behemoth at 145, and noting how he puts people to sleep with devastating precision. His punches come straight down the pipe. His hooks are perfect. His distance management is perfect. The consequences of getting hit by him are so grave, Rogan warned. As UFC 317 approaches on June 28th, the stakes for Oliveira have never been higher. Today, we're breaking down why this fight could be the most dangerous night of his career. The Tapuria phenomenon has the MMA world buzzing, and for good reason. Let's dive into what makes Tapuria such a terrifying force, and why Rogan's chilling warning should not be taken lightly.
When you see Patty, he's dancing like this. He seems silly, but then he people up.
He people up like Michael Chandler. Who did he face?
Well, he hasn't faced anyone that good yet, but he up Michael Chandler better than Charles Oliveira did.
Charles, if he finds some adversity, he's gonna go to the ground and he's gonna be waiting till you end the fight.
While analyzing Ilia Topuria's recent training footage, Joe Rogan was visibly stunned. He called Tapuria the new high watermark in MMA technique, emphasizing just how complete his skill set is. "There's no weaknesses, man," Rogan said. Some even believe Tapuria could be the best pound-for-pound fighter alive. Bad news for Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira at UFC 317.
There's always danger with Tapuria. When he hits you, it's different than anybody, especially with hands. Boxing is so high level. That left hook he caught Max with, oh my goodness. Just spun his head around.
Here's the real kicker. Rogan singled out the left hook that floored Max Holloway, saying it spun his head around, and stressed that Tapuria carries zero disadvantages in any exchange. The warning grows darker when Rogan breaks down Tapuria's boxing. "I was watching him and thinking, this guy looks like a pure boxer with how clean he lands, but he's that sharp everywhere," Rogan marveled. Charles, if you're listening, a man who has watched every elite competitor up close, is basically telling the world your next opponent at UFC 317 might be performing at an entirely different tier. To grasp why so many analysts are siding against you, we must revisit what Tapuria did to featherweight royalty. Alexander Volkanovski, long touted as the sport's pound-for-pound king, was knocked out cold. Max Holloway, previously untouched by strikes his whole career, was face-planted by that same ruthless left hook.
Your thoughts on Ilia Topuria and Ilia Topuria as a fighter? How do you feel about just the overall fight?
É uma grande luta. Ele é um grande lutador, mas eu não preciso provar mais nada pra ninguém de quem eu sou, o que eu já fiz dentro do cage. Essa luta chegou numa oportunidade gigantesca. Vou nocautear esse cara. Essa é real.
He's gonna knock this guy out.
But what truly alarms Oliveira is how thorough Tapuria's beatings are. Rogan highlighted exchanges against Holloway, noting, "Those shots thudded. You could see it in Max's face." Tapuria peppered Holloway with damaging punches long before the coup de grace. It was calculated, systematic destruction, not chance. And when Tapuria previously jumped to lightweight versus Jai Herbert, the story repeated. Dropped by a head kick, he reset. And in round 2, uncorked what Rogan dubbed a right hand from hell, turning off Herbert's lights with a walk-off knockout. The pattern is undeniable. Tapuria doesn't merely win, he deletes opponents from consciousness. At 28, he's entering peak athletic years, while the 35-year-old Oliveira carries unmistakable mileage from countless wars. Facing that momentum, June 28th could become Oliveira's harshest reality check inside the Octagon.
Fair or unfair if Ilia Topuria fights for the title in his next fight?
He was champion in the featherweight division. Maybe this is fair. Maybe no. This is politics, in the UFC. Too many movement. For me, interesting fight, but another. But I don't know. Tapuria is small guy. Islam is really big guy, and I don't think that Tapuria has changed against him. Like if you wanna fight with Islam, you have to be like big guy, like similar like him, because he's good everywhere. But if your body is smaller than him, so you don't have chance for sure. Yeah.
He's coming to your weight class.
Fire him. I think he got to fight for the belt for sure.
But do you think the UFC gonna give him the title fight?
I think he left 145 because they said, okay, we're gonna give you title fight. Islam doesn't want to fight him because if he wins him, people are gonna say, okay, you again beat the 145 fighters and he's not number one contender. If Islam beats me, I think he's done with this division.
What are your thoughts on Ilia Topuria and Ilia Topuria as a fighter? How do you feel about just the overall fight?
É uma grande luta. Ele é um grande lutador, mas eu não preciso provar mais nada pra ninguém de quem eu sou, o que eu já fiz dentro do cage. Essa outra chegou numa oportunidade gigantesca. Eu vou nocautear esse cara. Essa é ela.
He's gonna knock this guy out.
He's not the most dominant guy. If you watch him, he gets in bad positions and guys hurt him, but he's long and lanky and he can use his feet like hands and tie you up and do these things with his big old long limbs. And obviously he got finished by Islam, but that's his only loss. Well, Armin, but that was a hug fest.
Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria is confirmed for UFC 317 on June 28th for International Fight Week.
You all know Ilia Topuria, undefeated, 16-0, vacated his featherweight title. And now he's moving up to lightweight, and he will face former lightweight champion and number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight.
Charles Oliveira becomes this assassin.
Yeah.
He's just and he just has no quit in him. He's just an animal. Yeah. And it's just like everybody just forgot about that old shit. Like, no, I like what you were saying. Topuria versus Oliveira.
Your first introduction at 55. He's kind of the,
Oliveira so tall
and dangerous.
So dangerous everywhere. Dangerous striking, huge reach advantage.
Yeah. But if you're Topuria, you're not going to go up to 55 without some sort of guarantee. Because remember, he's giving up the belt, so he's not getting pay-per-view points.
But it's his idea.
Well, because the weight cut's too tough.
Is that what it is? And you see Patty, he's dancing like this. He seems silly, but then he people up.
He f***s people up like Michael Chandler. Who did he face?
Well, he hasn't faced anyone that good yet, but he f***ed up Michael Chandler better than Charles Oliveira did.
Charles, if he finds some adversity, he's going to go to the ground and he's going to be waiting till you...
It's just a behemoth. At 145, that dude puts people to sleep. He wanted to go up and fight Islam Makhachev at 155. I don't care if he only defended the title one time or didn't.
Agree.
Who cares?
You want Ilia to fight Makhachev?
Let's go. Oh. Ilia has superior technique. His punches come straight down the pipe. His hooks are perfect. His distance management is perfect. He's super aggressive. And the consequences of getting hit by him are so grave. That left hook he caught Max with, oh my goodness. Just spun his head around. He doesn't have any disadvantages.
When you consider that the only person he hasn't finished is the sitting champion, which is the lightweight champion that most recently arguably lost to the featherweight champion one weight class below, it's not a good look. The guy is one of the greatest lightweights to ever walk the earth. And despite the fact that Charles Oliveira has seen many losses, right, to the point that the amount of losses he's had would be representative of a journeyman in the UFC. In fact, when you consider his losses to those lightweight elites, it almost gives him this unbelievable underdog story that you just can't help but root for. That might be fortunate or unfortunate because Charles Oliveira is very much like Robert Whittaker in the fact that he is a dominant force in his division. And not only can he not beat the champion is an awful stylistic matchup, and the champion has finished him in the past.
He's not that good like people think. People think he's unbeatable and like crazy wrestler, but like I took him down when I was 22 years old. So if I heard him very well, he's gonna forget about him.
Buena. Buena. Buena.
Hey. Yeah.
Ilia versus Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. We know Charles, he's a dangerous, aggressive son of a bitch. He's gonna walk forward, punches, knees, elbows. He'll lock on a submission. Ilia, this is his first fight at lightweight, and with the punching power of Ilia Topuria, the boxing that he has, the footwork that he has, and the Greco-Roman wrestling, it wouldn't surprise me if Ilia pulls it.
For Dana, Ilia Topuria did an interview a few minutes ago where he said the winner of this fight is going to determine whether he fights Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira on International Fight Week. Can you confirm that that's the stakes attached to this main event too?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Charles Oliveira against Ilia Topuria is I mean,
it's a good fight.
It's an unbelievable scrap.
It's an unbelievable, but you think, unless Tapuria does not look the same at 155, which is a possibility because they hit harder at 155. You know, there could be what if Charles is still there in the third round, the fourth round? Ilia can't get him out of there. Then it becomes
two, I would say, top 5 pound for pound dressers.
Yeah.
UFC.
Absolutely. Well, it's so interesting, right? Because, you know, sometimes you can tell a lot about someone, the way that they dress a little bit. And you have Charles Oliveira, who, you know, is very flashy. He'll certainly be the more colorful guy in the suit. You know, he always comes with like a green or a red or something wild. You know, hair dyed, all that stuff. And then Ilia Topuria kind of like, you know, like your clean kind of normal type suits, but everything, you know, really well done.
I'm having a hard time getting Ilia in there with Islam. And Islam's entire situation, or his entire argument is, I've done this not just once, I've done this twice. It's everything to gain for you, and I have nothing. When the reality is, this should be the undisputed champion versus the BMF champion. That's what this should be. Ilia Topuria should be right now the BMF champion. And it's not the first time the mistake has been made to walk a BMF champion out there.
And everyone started yelling, the kids screaming and all that. Training had just ended and so on. I grabbed the phone, saw thousands of messages, went straight to Diego. That's it. Let's go. We're ready. 46 days. 46 days for this belt to return where it never should have left. We'll focus on what matters, stay sharp, and make it happen. I'm not fixated on their moves, but on what we can bring and take. My team will map out Tupula so we can plan our...
Sorry, Max, just one more. I know you had good praise for Ilia there. Dana was in here. He said you are still the BMF champion, but Ilia's strutting around backstage with the UFC belt on one shoulder and his BMF one on the other. Just your thought on that.
I mean, it is what it is. It is. It wasn't, could you imagine Islam walking around with 2 belts after knocking out Volk? Let that sink in, you know? The belt was in a different weight class for a different reason.
Ilia Topuria. He said, you know what? I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. I think he deserves.
I think if you move up and you beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without? No, I don't agree. Because Islam already give chance, and people talk bad about like, oh, he fight 2 times with Volkanovski, but...
Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira has just been announced, and I'm having mixed feelings, man. I'm gonna be honest, because I'm someone who really wanted to see Ilia fight Islam Makhachev. That would have been one of the best fights the UFC could make right now, in my opinion. I think the best fight. And now we're not gonna have it. Yes, Islam is gonna be moving up to 170 to try to become a double champion now. Not a simultaneous one, because he just vacated the belt. This fight between Ilia and Charles.
I think the lightweight division is the most exciting division right now. It's just death row in the lightweight division at the moment. Like the top 5, dude, that guard up there right now, it's just killers, man.
But especially with Ilia Topuria entering the mix, right? The whole big story over the past week was he obviously vacated the title at featherweight, but apparently he said the UFC told him, we promise you a title opportunity if you vacate. That's what he told Spanish media. Or I think he said as a backup he would fight.
So guys, International Fight Week is going to be Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. Usually I'd wait for a podcast, but we're not doing that one this week. I'm going on vacation. So I just wanted to mention, 1, Islam Makhachev being stripped of the title, but not John Jones being stripped of his title is the most BS thing I've ever heard in my life. I hate that. what is the UFC doing right now? Islam Makhachev has been the guy for the last 5 years, and John Jones has been a guy who doesn't want to fight. So, next, Charles...
Y que será en Las Vegas el 28 de junio, y es que todavía no sabes contra quién vas a pelear.
No, que es Islam y es Charles.
Islam es más grande que tú, 8 centímetros más alto. Makhachev, si es Makhachev, te va a intentar tirar al suelo. Y tú dices,
claro,
tú dices que el suelo es un punto...
intentarlo y conseguirlo hay una gran diferencia. Nunca se ha enfrentado.
Is vacated, right? So that's the...
This is a guy that's trained and coached by Khabib, who, 28-0, stories that he's never lost a round in his life.
I take him close to Khabib. I will submit him closer to Khabib.
You'll submit him in front of Khabib?
Yeah. I take him. Khabib used to take people and he shoulder take them down and talk to Dana. I would do it to Khabib. Like, I will take him, but...
Ilia Topuria fighting Islam Makhachev, or should Ilia just fight Volk again?
I feel like Ilia deserves that, but it takes two to tango, and I don't feel like these Dagestanis, bro. Even though they say anytime, anywhere, it's like Islam wants to make sure that Ilia deserves it. He wants him to go through the number one contender, as we talked about before. But if I had my choice, of course, Ilia fight Islam Makhachev. Do I believe Ilia could beat Islam? No.
Camp has begun. All you got to do is Google the name Ilia Topuria. It's all over the internet. It's all over Twitter. It's everywhere. Camp has begun. But I think Islam's wrestling is probably a little bit better. But if we just say that, if you look at the striking styles, Ilia Topuria, I favour him as the boxer. Islam Makhachev, he's got some nice little kicks, just as Alexander Volkanovski, right? But the problem is with Ilia Topuria, with that boxing style, he's very, very heavy on that lead leg. So you're going to look for Islam Makhachev to chip away with calf kicks, try and keep him at bay with Ilia being the shorter guy, then bring the kicks upstairs. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, that would do huge numbers, and we all want to see it.
For the title, how do you see that one playing out?
It's a tough fight. Ilia, better striking, good boxing. He never fought with guys who can wrestle very well like Islam. So we'll say it's a 50-50 fight.
Do you think they're going to give Ilia the opportunity to fight Islam for the title if it's not you?
I think so. I'm open for everybody from top 5.
Can Ilia catch him? That's what is, and he definitely can. Ilia's very, especially with his approach, he really backs his strike and his boxing. He really knows that he will eventually find the chin, and he's stoic till that happens. You know what I mean? He is on task, and he doesn't. You know what I mean? He'll go even if things aren't working. He's still going to try and find it. So I think Islam's going to be a tough matchup for him, because Islam can be quite defensive and safe. I think he's going to know he needs to play it safe with Ilia, because he knows Ilia's going to have that.
You have a world champion versus a world champion. Like, if anybody deserves a fight for the world title in the next week.